Honorable Minister, Shri Singhani ji, Ms. Veena Raijada ji, Mr. Sunil Kakkar, my friend, distinguished delegates. Well, this is a bit challenging to be walking in, tripping on the stage, and straight away getting onto the podium to speak about the vision. Right in the morning when you're still groggy and opening your eyes. I told Ravi that nothing begins at 9 in Gujarat. Because in Gujarat, the system is that we take, sir, you would confirm, Minister, sir, that we take lunch in the morning at about 10:30. And so the business begins at 11:30. Typically, the office time is 10:30, but that is just the official part of it. The actual part is 11. So anyway, this is a very early morning. I hope you all got your bed tea here. The topic is, in fact, topic also has changed. I looked at it and it said education landscape, and now it is ICT vision. Is that right? ICT vision. So anyway, thank you, Ravi, for bringing it closer to my heart, though I'm involved with the education landscape also, and I have some observations which I'll make about the education landscape also. ICT, I suppose today in India, in the governance, it's a watershed. It's a status of watershed, in as much as the kind of deployment that you're having in the governments across the board in the country is going to change the business of governance like never before, and the governance is going to look entirely a different thing as we go past the kind of developments that are taking place. This began, as a matter of fact, when I am talking of the entire country's landscape, with the NEGP, the National E-Governance Program. The National E-Governance Program was a result of a concerted decision taken by the Government of India to bring ICT in governance with absolute surety and determination. This involved, first of all, setting up the infrastructure. Infrastructure basically included creating statewide area networks across all states, creating data centers across all states, and providing all knowledge-based support for developing applications for making utilization of this infrastructure. Much that the process of deployment of IT began quite some time ago. National Informatics Center, NIC, was created quite some time back, and they created a net called NICNet. They have presence in each district of the country, and they were engaged in supporting small little way the programs that were getting deployed on computers which were being purchased for last 15, 20 years in each district of the country. But that was that when ICT meant purchasing of computers. ICT meant deployment of small programs, maybe a paper tracking program, maybe a small district-specific program in a district. So ICT went on like that. We kept on saying that you assign 1%, 2%, or 3% of budget of the state for ICT. So every department, every district would buy computers. Sometimes those computers would not be utilized. The covers would not even be taken off. And from XT to AT to something like P1, P2, P3, P4, they kept on changing. But there was no concerted, that's why I use the word concerted, there was no concerted effort to deploy ERP kind of applications in departments on a basis where it was statewide. It was possible to connect all the districts and have one application deployed, a comprehensive one, which a department could use for doing all its functions. So that's why NEGP is a watershed where it looks at the entire thing in a holistic way, and they decided to provide funds to each state for developing a statewide area network. They provided funds to each state for developing a state data center. And they are providing funds for, simultaneously they're providing funds for consultants, vendors, O&M operators, third-party auditors of the CMM5 level, the kind who have the capacity to set it all up, and their panels, they are available to each state. Now, this is what is happening in the country today. Almost 19 states have made some headway or almost reaching a level where state-wide area networks are almost complete. Data centers are also, they have been commissioned in more than 15 states. There are, every state is on board. There is hardly any state which is today not, as a matter of fact, taken to setting up this infrastructure. Now, I'll tell you what has happened in Gujarat. Gujarat has been a good 10 years ahead of the rest of the country, in as much as we set up Gujarat State Wide Area Network way back in 2001. While in the rest of the country, Rajasthan gave its work order for setting up wide area network last month. Maharashtra is still going ahead implementing the wide area network. Rajasthan's, this is not, of course, Warapachip. It's just to say that Gujarat has had a little way ahead, and I'll tell you how it has made a difference, and how Gujarat's status demonstrates what shape would it take in other states, because we've already been there for the last 11 years. Rajasthan's first work order says 3,500 nodes in its wide area network. Gujarat began in 2001, commissioned the wide area network. Today, Gujarat has 32,000 nodes, 32,000 official points connected on the wide area network. Out of this 32,000, we had about 16,000 2 years ago. Today we have doubled it up. And we have doubled it up not because we are fond of it, but because there is a pressure on me. There is a daily pressure on me to keep on opening up the wide area network. And the situation is such, we are working at a breakneck speed to keep on connecting the state, to keep on connecting offices, to keep on connecting small little places. These are not the regular offices that we are connecting. We are connecting food godowns, we are connecting rainforest offices, we are connecting panchayats. This is 32,000 up to taluka level. We have a different intranet which is called eGram. eGram, what is that? It connects 18,000 panchayats. 18,000 villages are connected on this intranet called eGram. This came about in the year 2003. 2003, the Chief Minister wanted that all village panchayats be on broadband. So we figured out, we looked around and we found that there was not a single service provider which had its footprints across the entire state, across all villages. It is not the case even today, anywhere in the country, that the service providers provide their footprints in each village. But then the Chief Minister wanted all villages to be on broadband. So we said, okay, we'll create our own footprint. We created a VSAT network, pumped in the bandwidth from the Bangalore hub of one of the service providers. And with that, we have created an intranet. And now we are in the process of connecting the two intranets. The only hitch is that these are two CUGs, and if a single service provider connects them, then it requires a license from the Government of India. So it's waiting for that. So with that, it will become a 50,000 connectivity strong intranet. And that would be one of the largest in the world, single intranet, because I checked out and I found that in US, they don't have a countrywide kind of net. They have state nets, and it's all in the hands of private people. As a matter of fact, the connectivity in the US is not owned by the federal government. So there is nothing like a central government having an intranet across the entire country. There are private vendors which have provided connectivity, and which is not something to be frowned upon, because the way forward, when we'll talk, we'll see how some of these things can be finally outsourced. So this is the status of internet. We have gone through upgradations in 3 phases, which invariably means providing higher bandwidths. And providing higher bandwidths would require your routers, your switches, all to be upgraded and taken down to higher levels. So we had something like 10 megabits per second, 10 Mbps bandwidth from the state center, Gandhinagar, to each of the districts. And then 2 Mbps from the state district centers to each taluka. And purely because of the demand, last May, as a matter of fact, when we had our Golden Jubilee, and the Chief Minister wanted a certain level of connectivity to taluka levels, we raised this bandwidth to 34 Mbps from the state level to the district level, and 10 Mbps from the district level to each taluka level. So that is where it stands. And we created Jan Seva Kendra in each taluka. For yesterday, those who were present yesterday, they would have heard the Chief Minister talking about governance, vibrant governance, and one-day governance. And in order to have one-day governance, which meant that a person can come and apply in the morning, and as he goes back in the evening, he can collect his reply to whatever issues he has with the government. That's called one-day governance, and for which you need connectivity. So we created what is called ATVT Jan Seva Kendra in each taluka, which is connected, and we had to provide this plug-and-play kind of connectivity to each desk in this Kendra in a matter of 1 month across 226 talukas, and raise the bandwidth also within a month. So this is the level of connectivity. Data centers, Gujarat again had set up its state data center, state-of-the-art, here in Gandhinagar, about a year and a half back. All over the country, these data centers are getting created. Basically, this is to ensure security because until now, and which is the case in most of the states, each department has its servers either in NIC's data center or in its own data center, and the issues of security, issues of uniformity in operations, etc., they are becoming a challenge. So to have them all on board, all departments on board on a single platform, it is most desirable that they all migrate their servers to this data center, which is what is the exercise happening. We have data center run through a core committee, which is a pretty large committee, having members from various, like NIC, like GIL, and Gujarat Informatics. There are competent technocrats. In addition, we have an O&M vendor for the physical structure of the data center. We have an O&M vendor for the management, operations and management of the data center. And then we have a third-party auditor which basically oversees the functioning of both these O&M vendors. We have an O&M vendor for the state wide area network, and we again have a third-party auditor for the O&M vendor of the wide area network. So these are the kind of layers of management of these two essential components of the infrastructure. We have now, the other part is applications, developing a portal for service delivery, and that is where the challenges are, as a matter of fact, even stronger, because of the reason that you have to double with the domains, and the domains are held by departmental secretaries, and that is where the culture of administration becomes an issue. India is still governed by the systems which got initiated, I would say, from the times of Sher Shah Suri, the Mughals, and which was imbibed by the British. The British set up certain procedures. The British set up districts states, the Office Procedure Manual, when you talk of workflow and document management system, it is governed in the departments by what is called Office Procedure Manual. And in the Government of India, you have what is called allocation of business rules and transaction of business rules. These are sacrosanct. Transaction and allocation. Allocation of business rules is a subordinate legislation under the Constitution of India, by virtue of which the President of India allocates subjects to ministries and departments. It is absolutely sacrosanct, and as sacrosanct as the Constitution itself. Whatever is the subject assigned to a department or ministry, alone, that department alone can decide upon that subject. And any other department which has any interface with that kind of an issue has to go back for consultation with that parent department. The minister, by virtue of his election to the post and appointment by the President, acquires the status of government for those subjects. And transaction of business rules basically says what should be the essential consultation carried out for arriving at a certain decision. That consultation is also sacrosanct. So for instance, if there is an issue pertaining to law, consultation with the law department is a must. Most issues get determined only by way of consultation with the finance department. Finance department's consultation is a must. Then there are many other nodal departments like personnel. Personnel department, whenever there are issues of human resources lying in any department of the Government of India or state government, you have to go to the GAD personnel. So you have to go to the personnel department. So these are called transaction of business rules. Now what is the definition of government? Many people outside the government would wonder, what is the government? There is no individual which is the government. There is no individual office which is the government. Government is the consultative process under allocation, transaction of business rules, which leads to a result, to a decision taken by a department which has got that subject allocated to it. So for each decision, government is defined in a different manner. Now that being a basic outline of how the decisions are taken in the government, the whole process under the e-governance, it becomes very complicated. It becomes very complicated to put the decisions in the scheme. So the National E-Governance Program basically looks at a portal. Essentially it's B2C, which is the concern of e-governance program. The B2B or G2G, in fact, is something which the states are handling themselves. We have, for instance, an integrated workflow and document management system, IWDMS, across the state, and all files are moving on that since almost 2001 or 2002. We have a whole lot of applications which are now in the shape of ERPs, which take care of all aspects of a department, including human resources, including finance, including its mainstay services to the people. But what is the concern of any GP is the B2C, the services which are to be delivered to the citizen. So those are to be delivered through a portal. We have, like gujaratindia.com, we have a portal which enlists 130 services as of today, which are in the shape of e-forms, and they are internet-based, so these e-forms can be downloaded through the internet, but that's not the spirit under the NEGP program. The spirit is that there should be these forms. It should be possible to fill those online. It should be possible for a citizen to submit it to the department. It should be then taken up for processing through e-process within the department, and a decision conveyed to the citizen in a given time through the e-process. So how do you do it? I'll tell you that in short and then switch over to what the future looks like. The proposal is the process. We are setting up, it's a software which is called State Service Delivery Gateway. So there would be a State Service Delivery Gateway which would be a connector between the people and the department. So the portal, which would be accessible through the internet as well as through the intranet, citizens should be able to file their applications on the portal in an interactive way, which will be routed through the state service delivery gateway to the concerned department. Now, the process of taking it to the department and getting the decision processed in the department is what is turning out to be a very big challenge, because that is where what we are supposed to do is business process re-engineering, BPR. And it is BPR which, to my mind, is the biggest challenge in this sphere of e-governance in this country, because as I told you, there are hard crystalline procedures since the times of British, and as a matter of fact even more ancient times, and it's so difficult. And, like what is that essential, the quintessential process of taking a decision within the established by the British? What it says, a paper comes, the paper has to go to a section. A clerk looks at the paper. First of all, a clerk has to look at that paper. Howsoever high and mighty would have written the paper, it goes to that clerk in that department. He looks at the paper, he says, what is this paper all about? What are the rules and regulations about the issues which are raised in the paper? What are the precedents which have taken place in this department pertaining to the issues which have been raised in this paper? Then he is supposed to catalog all those things, put the laws, the rules, the regulations, precedents, etc. on the file, and put up a note saying that this is the paper, these are the issues, this is the entire framework of rules, regulations, etc. And he'll put it up to the next person. Next person will look at it and say, okay, so this being the situation, it appears that following kind of options are available for taking decision. These options can emerge only at the level of Under Secretary. He would then put it up to the Deputy Secretary, who would say, so Under Secretary will involve the options. Deputy Secretary would say, out of these options, it appears that this is the better option. Then he'll put it up to the Secretary. Secretary will say, okay, I agree or I don't agree. So this is the process. Now, in that process, it is not possible to do one-day governance or week governance, and therefore you require a major business process re-engineering. And that is where the entire administrative culture is required to be changed. So this is the challenge. We are, as a matter of fact, having a state e-mission team, which has got change management experts. These change management experts are discussing with each departmental head as to how they should go about reviewing their procedures. Fortunately, there is a very good response from amongst the administrators as of today, demonstrating enough keenness to change the processes, to change the procedures and make them more citizen-centric. But in the meanwhile, I'll leave this issue here and tell you about the game changer. The game changer is social media, which is a result of Web 2.0. The social media is already there. Social media is something which cannot be wished away. I hope everybody is on board when I'm talking about social media. You have Web 2.0, we are talking about Gov 2.0. Gov 2.0 would mean that people across the board, once they have access to the net, today what is the access to the net? We say 920 million mobiles, but we have 20 million internet connections. Out of 20 million internet, and these are the internet connections which are other than the ones which are available through the mobiles. Because mobiles, I take it that the number of smart mobiles is much lesser. Number of live mobiles is lesser. So out of the 92 crore mobiles that you have in this country, my take is that the active live number of mobiles which have internet connection is not more than 10 million or 15 million. But these 20 million mobile connections that you have, if you calculate 5 persons using one connection, it comes to about 100 million. So in all, about 120 million people in this country having access to the net. When this access becomes larger, and of course, one can discuss it on and on, but there are lots of other things which are happening because of which the access to net is becoming larger. The thing is that social media, Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace and all, MySpace alone is equal to a country which would be 5th largest in the world. So this is the way these social media platforms have become large. And they are making a difference. You all are aware about the Occupy Wall Street movement, which took off in a matter of 24 hours and went across from Australia to Seattle and became a force to reckon with by the administration. So administration across the globe. So while we are trying to change the processes, and I am making everybody aware in the government that the social media has to be contended with, and for which there is citizen engagement framework, which we are in the process of discussing. In fact, today, because I am here, I am not in Delhi, where Kapil Sibal is hosting a state consultation, countrywide consultation with states on evolving a citizen engagement framework, which is becoming a very strong need, where we must lay down how citizens would engage with the governments through this social media. But the issue is, if we don't set up this framework, the social media is going to take over the issues in a manner which may not be streamlined or channelized to a direction where it becomes a positive, constructive movement for the country. And therefore, this is very important that each state has its own citizen framework engagement, gets all those citizens who are active, live, and live to this issue on board, so in that context, my suggestion to the Government of India is that we create interest groups. We create interest groups within the society. Say, okay, who's interested in what? Somebody may be interested in Ahmedabad's heritage. Somebody could be interested in not having litter on the street. Somebody may be interested in sterilizing the dogs. Somebody may be interested in keeping the road signs better. Each of this could be an interest group. We should engage people on board on social media. So this is, anyway, I'll leave this point here because it was just a pointer to what all are the factors which are having a bearing on the decision making of the government. So the procedures of British being whatever those are, we have no option but to change those. We have to be responsive to the people for the services that we deliver. We have to also be responsive to the people who are interested in the business of governance. My take is that it's not longer than 20 years that a good part of government's decision making would go to these interest groups, and should go to these interest groups. And a good part of governance can be carried out, as a matter of fact, by these interest groups, and that would be a more inclusive way of running the business of the government. On the other hand, e-governance is directed towards that person who is at the bottom of the pyramid, who needs the services. E-governance means he should not be required to move out of his village. He should get his service in an efficient, effective way at a place where he is living, and he should not be made to go and from pillar to post for getting those benefits. So that is where this scheme of things, where you do the business process re-engineering from a state service delivery gateway, the requests come to the departments through a re-engineered process, get decided upon. One of the re-engineering required would be not having to refer the matters to finance, not having to refer the matters to law department. So this consultation process, which is quintessential governance, needs to be re-looked at also. And like my take is that technology is simpler, but making these changes in the domains is a very, very big challenge. And this is where we need to, as a matter of fact, engage ourselves and evolve more suggestions. So this is what is happening. One can't go into further details. I would just try to say what should actually be happening in the near future. One is, we talked about, it is engaging citizens through the citizen engagement framework, which to my mind is one of the most important things to be understood, to be handled with care immediately in the business of governance. In respect of technology, while we have set up the infrastructure, it's time when we need to, as a matter of fact, combine, because of the advancement in technology itself. The issue which I had raised in the Government of India was essentially as to why do we have so many data centers across the whole country. Why can't we just have a good, large public cloud, private cloud of the government? So that is the direction in which Government of India has started moving, shared platform, cloud computing for the government, creating private cloud or private clouds in the government space, developing application stores in the cloud, in the government space, where departments, governments across the country, offices, they can download based on authentication applications which should be ubiquitously available across the country. So there's no need, as a matter of fact, for Gujarat to develop applications and then the same application to be developed in 26 other states, which is happening as of now, because IPR issues are not really resolved to the extent that application once developed becomes the property of the government, and then it can be replicated. But once you have cloud, you can, a private cloud of the government, it's possible that you can develop an application store on which a lot of these rules, laws, and all those again would be on this on this private cloud of the government, and this is going to be happening very soon. So this is a very clear-cut lining I can see on the sky, where in a matter of 5-6 years you would have a private cloud in which the government would really be operating across the country. There would be virtualization across the board. There would be virtualization at all stacks in the data center, the storage, the network, the applications. There would be virtualization of desktops. Hugely, we are looking at virtualization of desktops. Usually, there's no reason why there should be a CPU hanging on every desk. We have, as a matter of fact, created computer laboratories across 17,000 primary schools in the villages, where we have virtualized the desktop in as much as 7 machines, 7 monitors on one CPU, and the other 6 on individual CPUs because they are in different rooms. So these are some of the things which would happen in due course of time, and I think I'll finish here and leave the rest for questions and answers. I think you would like to invite. Thank you very much.